What an accomplishment, man. It's so cool to see that you were able to complete this race. And then to see that you were able to win it is just a cherry on top. And actually, as I had mentioned to you just before recording, when I saw that you were doing Unbound XL, I was like, oh, we got to have Taylor on the podcast to talk about this. And then when you won it, I was like, oh, cool, we get to celebrate it too. It's just incredible.
I appreciate
such a huge amount of admiration. And particularly, Taylor, this is particularly poignant because this year when you mentioned that they had to cancel 24 hours in the old Pueblo, and then you had the huge crash. But then leading up to that, the prior year, you had gone for the record of 21 laps at 24 hours in the old Pueblo as a solo rider, which having done that event, I can't fathom that. That is incredible to do that many laps, or to even get to 20 laps to do more than 10. It's incredible. It's just crazy. But you've mentioned this, and you've really shared a whole lot of your experience with this. You've struggled with mental health issues while being an endurance athlete. And I think a lot of people listening to this right now probably have as well. I have myself, absolutely. And the hard thing a lot of the time is we feel like endurance sport is the antithesis of mental health issues. It's about enduring, pushing through hard things and coming out the other side. It's about kind of like overcoming the very thing that's there. And we feel like maybe that endurance sports helps us run from it, but maybe it doesn't. And I just want to take some time to talk about this. How have you, or what have you learned in the past year about mental health and endurance sport and their relationship? That's a huge question, and this can probably fuel quite a conversation for us to have. But what have you learned this year that you would want to share with us?
Oh man, it has been a journey to say the least. I have gone through, and I kept a lot of this personal up until recently. I've gone through a lot of stuff since I can remember. Really the only person that knew about it was Mary, my wife. I was nervous about telling people because I had at times some pretty personal, dark things going on in my life. And I didn't want to scare people. I didn't want people to look at me differently. I didn't want that attention around it. And I think that a lot of people find themselves in that situation, right? They keep quiet about it. And one thing that I learned by speaking up about it is it made me feel a lot better and not alone. I always felt like this black sheep when I was going through these issues. And there were a couple alarming moments where if I didn't speak up, I think there may have been a different story here. And luckily I have the support in Mary where she wasn't alarmed in the sense of freaking out in the moment. She was very cool, calm, and collected. And she approached it from like more of a medical standpoint, which I'm super grateful for. And I am beyond thankful that I do have that support system. And what really breaks my heart is I do know that there's a ton of people out there that don't have that support system. And like you said, I think that's where we see this correlation with endurance sports and people that struggle with mental health. Because for me personally, the bike is this form of meditation, and it's a way that I can kind of work things out in my own head. And people out there, I think, do the same thing, but they just never talk about it. And it's like that thing. If you have this, almost like when you get angry, and if you let it boil, it's eventually going to come out. And it really scares me. And it makes me, like I said, it breaks my heart to know that some people just don't have support, and there is support systems out there for you. I was in that same boat of not trusting anybody and telling them. And finally, when I started seeking out professional support just this year, I couldn't believe how many people out there were willing to offer a helping hand in the form of family, friends, people I didn't even know reached out and said they were going through the same thing. Then you go to doctors and they're just willing to help, right? And I had grown up going to doctors for some of these issues, and I lost trust in them. I always felt like I was being treated differently. And so I rebelled against them. Sometimes it led to arguments in doctor's offices. I wasn't in a healthy space. And so I just hope that people out there know that there is support, whether it's messaging a stranger on a social media app and just asking to talk about things. That can make a huge, huge difference. It doesn't matter how big or small you think your issue is, your issue matters 100%. And so, reaching out for help, in my opinion, is the first thing to do. It's extremely difficult to do that, but it makes a difference.
Yeah. So sometimes the bike, like you said, it's the form of meditation, and it's the thing that can help you unravel the string, so to speak, many times when life itself kind of tangles it all up. But there are times when the bike in and of itself also just kind of like pushes us further along that darker path. Like you had mentioned with 24 Hours in the Old Pueblo, you were so hyper-focused on this goal, and you had a great preparation coming in, and you were executing, and then things went sideways and kind of went off of that. Mm-hmm. I imagine that getting back on the bike wasn't helpful for you, like immediately thereafter, right? After that.
Yeah, so, you're totally right.
How have you managed that? Especially because it's your profession. Your profession is you're a bike racer. Mm-hmm. So how do you manage that relationship, since the bike is your meditation, but then at the same time trying to offset it? Do the other approaches kind of take the place of the bike for you when you talked about seeking help and managing that? Or is there something else that you found to be helpful?
Yeah, I can only speak for myself, but for my particular story, I, for the longest time, was using the bike as the only form of medication, right? Mm-hmm. And there would be times where I would put so much expectation on myself that it turned from a healthy outlet to an unhealthy outlet. And I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And when I was able to understand that I was doing it for the wrong reasons, it made riding more fun for me, more enjoyable, not always being so obsessed with a result on paper. It's more about the process from start to finish. I think everybody that listens to the TrainerRoad podcast loves the training aspect of riding, right? That is the fun part. That is what we get to do every day. And we're so lucky to be able to go do that. And once the fun is taken away, things for me started to snowball. Not just in my active life, but also my personal life and everything like that. So it is easy to think that the bike is a healthy outlet, but then you put these expectations on yourself and this pressure, this continuous pressure to always nail a workout or nail a race. And that's just not realistic. It's not, we're human, right? We're going to come up short. And I'm not perfect still. I don't have it figured out, in the sense that if I do come up short, I'm not going to beat myself up, but it's a work in progress for sure.
What do you mention, the expectation side of things? And that's something that I think there's a temptation to think that mental health issues are in some way genetic or something else, and they're just nascent, kind of like natural to a person, and that's what they are. And perhaps ignore the fact that we can put so much pressure on ourselves that we can absolutely harm our mental health. Mm-hmm. The expectation side of things. How do you manage your expectations with events? You came into DK, Unbound, forgive me, with what seems like a very healthy perspective on what you wanted to achieve. But how do you manage that with expectations? That's tricky, particularly once again when you're a professional athlete.
Yeah, I wish I had the answer for it, honestly, because this year has been so trying for me from a mental health standpoint that's kind of why I just took this approach with Unbound XL. Was I just wanted to go there and experience the event, have fun first and foremost, have fun before, during, and after. And I checked that box. I had a great time with Kenny and Mary flying there. The rec family that hosts us while we're there they're some of the most genuine, down to earth, kind people. We just enjoyed our whole time there. And when I was able to focus on that, like, it's not just about the bike race, it's about the entire experience. It made it more fun for me. Mm-hmm. And that's when it seems like I perform better when I'm focused on having fun rather than being overly serious or focused on a result on paper.
Yeah. What advice did you give to athletes that are struggling with mental health issues right now?
Your issue is important. I always thought, because I didn't go through anything traumatic in my life, and I always assumed that there needed to be this extreme traumatic experience, that's not the truth. Some people have anxiety and depression, and it doesn't matter if you think it's not important and you want to just push it under the rug. It is important, and there are people willing to listen to you, and people will hear you out and they want to help you. I understand, like I said, it can be the most terrifying thing to talk about this, but once you do it for the first time, it becomes easier every time thereafter. And you're not a black sheep. I remember being at doctors back in March in a place that I never want to go back, in tears, and just saying, I am a black sheep. Like, what is wrong with me? And they calmly and collectively just said, like, there's a reason for this. We can help you. We can fix this issue. We can help you treat this issue. You don't have to live your life like this from now on. And in that moment, it was really hard to believe them and hard to see it. But now I am seeing it, and I'm trusting that process. And so I just hope people can take that step of reaching out for help first and foremost. And don't be afraid to alarm somebody with your issues, because if it is the right person, they'll approach it in a calm way and not make you feel like an outcast.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.